Hey guys, it is Thursday, September 14th, 2023. I'm getting ready to go to 90s Con in Tampa. It's 12:25 p.m. I just barely got this bag closed. It does feel kind of heavy. I wanted to experiment with different bags, see if I could downsize a bit, you know, as opposed to always doing the rolling carry-on. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so it is about 7:08 in the evening. I've gotten 3 compliments so far today on my green and orange Love Painted Stitches bag. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but let's check out the room first of all. All right, so we got the coffee maker and this nice mirror here and a really small sink. Let's see what's down here. Just the sink. Okay. Is that a microwave? Yes, that's a microwave, and that's a little mini fridge. So this is how the room is. Nice. It's different than what I've been to anytime recently. It almost feels like a suite. So let's see, we got this couch here with a little tray table. The room is comfy. The air's blowing. We got a lamp here. I'm willing to bet you this is just a view of the parking lot. Can't really tell. And then we have this nice big desk right here. By the way, I'm at a Hampton Inn and Suites. I was originally supposed to be at a Home to Suites, which I'd never been to before, but this one was a bit cheaper, even though it is further out. The other one I think would have been more, it would have been downtown. Is this another table? Yeah, seems like it. Artwork. Let's see where the light is over here. Here we go. Okay, we got the shower. We got another, this is the bigger sink, the restroom sink, nice. Got the flashlight turned off. I think it originally came on automatically because it was kind of dim. All right, here's another mirror, a full length one. Here is a tiny, it's not even like a nightstand. It's just a little tiny thingamajig. Let's see, how do you turn the light on? There we go. Got the bed. And then we have this one over here. This lamp. Where is that again? There we go. Okay, is this the phone? That's a phone? Wow. Look at that, that's a phone. It looks like it's on a stand. Look right here on the side of this desk. There's drawers over here. Not that we need the, we don't need the Holy Bible. But anyway, there we go. So this is a really interesting lamps too. Very interesting room. The lady at the front desk was great. She asked me why I'm here, and I said for 90s Con, and she wasn't sure what that was, so I told her, and she thought it was really cool. So yeah, she told me that I'm actually the guest of the day when I checked in, which means that they display my name at the front desk, which makes me feel awkward. I don't really want my name displayed at the front desk, but anyway. So they have that displayed there, and then she also told me that I got to spin the wheel. So she showed me this colorful little desktop, like tabletop size wheel that I got to spin for her prize. And I won 500 extra points on my Hilton Honors account. Well, it is 8:15 here in Tampa, and I just got Cracker Barrel delivered. So I have strawberry lemonade, cornbread, a biscuit. The fruit cup I'm gonna save for either tomorrow or Saturday. And then I think I got chicken and carrots and macaroni. It's a good thing I brought this travel cutlery. I haven't tried it out yet. I'm just about to try it out because they forgot to include cutlery. Happy Friday. It's Friday, September 15th, 2023. And I'm gonna head downstairs and get some breakfast. When I went down there, they did actually have to-go plates and utensils and stuff. So I got some, I'm guessing these are like little hash browns. And I got The sign said eggs, but I don't know what this is. I don't know. Is it a breakfast taco, possibly? And then I also got some bacon. Oh, and I also got some Honey Nut Cheerios. Breakfast was good, and I figured now would be a good time to tell y'all about my travel day yesterday. I got to the airport, immediately went downstairs to the security checkpoint and got in line. There was a guy directing traffic, and he directed a bunch of us to the pre-check line. There wasn't anybody directing traffic to any other line, so I thought, okay, maybe this is the only one. So I got into the pre-check line, went all the way to, got all the way to the front. In the process of getting to the front, there was actually a woman who complimented me on my Love Paint and Stitches purse, so that was nice. But anyway, I got all the way to the front, and I was hoping that, maybe the guy at the front would be able to tell that I'm visually impaired by the fact that when I was showing him my boarding pass, I was looking really close to my phone and stuff. And, maybe he would just direct me to the correct line to get through security. But no, he ended up telling me to go all the way back out. And so I had to get in the general line, which, as I said, that one didn't have anybody like pointing people in the direction of where to go. I spent probably at least 45 minutes just going through the security checkpoint. But everything made it through okay. Then I asked where Southwest was, and they told me that was going to be to the right. So I saw a sign that said there were a bunch of B gates ahead, and I was going to be at B2. So even though I wasn't sure I was in the correct airline vicinity, I went ahead and found what I thought was B2. It ended up being B3. But there were a few other people sitting there waiting, and then I sat there for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and I started hearing announcements about Delta Airlines. And I thought, okay, well, let me walk around and find somebody and ask them if I'm somehow in an area where Delta airplanes are picking people up instead of Southwest. So I walked a little bit further down, and I found somebody, and I asked the guy, is this the area for Southwest? And he said, yeah. And he told me that, I was on the side of the room that had that had the odd gates. And I needed to be on the other side that had the even gates. So I crossed the little walkway, I got to B2. It was jam-packed full of people. And I was able to pre-board, which was nice. What I learned when I got on there is that there are no assigned seats on Southwest. So since there are no assigned seats on Southwest, you can sit wherever you want, which I was pleasantly surprised by. Originally, my flight was supposed to be, I think about 5 hours. I was gonna have to change planes somewhere, and the flight total was gonna be about $319. And then somewhere along the way, I ended up getting a deal. I don't remember, it was one of those promotional emails from Southwest, so I ended up getting a deal and being able to change flights and save some money. So my cost went down from $319 to $228. But, and I was able to get a nonstop flight, which was great. However, since I had no idea about the fact that you can sit wherever you want, I had paid for early bird check-in, which is $50. So I wasted $50 on that. And then when I was at the airport waiting for my flight to come over here, I had looked on the app, and they said that you could spend an additional $30 to be guaranteed a seat in the first 15 rows on the flight. And I almost paid that $30. So yeah, for future reference, there's no need to waste money on early bird check-in or anything that says it's going to guarantee you seats in the first 15 rows. Especially if you're disabled and you can pre-board, you can sit wherever you want. So I got on the plane and I ended up sitting in the second row. So when I got to Tampa, I followed the signs that said baggage claim, and it was getting quieter and quieter in the area of the building that I was at, but I did pass up somebody who was sitting at a desk, one of the airport employees, and I asked him, I said, how do I get to catch Lyft? And he was like, oh, you just follow this walkway over here, go to the left, and then go to I think he said follow the blue signs or something. and you know, you catch Lyft over there. And I was like, okay. So I followed the walkway. It ended up leading to a shuttle. Thankfully it was one of those in-airport shuttles. It wasn't one of those where you had to like go to a separate parking garage or anything like that. So it was in the airport. And so basically it just led you to like it took you to an area that had like baggage claim and a hotel and restaurants and stuff, but it also took you to be able to catch Lyft and Uber. And so I was able to navigate that whole rest of the airport experience myself. And I got to give Tampa Airport credit. Like you can't walk even 10 feet without seeing another sign that's going to point you to the Blue Express, Uber, and Lyft pickup area. So I was able to follow the signs the entire way and went downstairs, took an escalator downstairs. So when you go downstairs, there's a waiting area outside the double doors, and it says Blue Express and it'll say 101, and then the next door you get to will say 102, the door following that'll say 103. So basically when you're requesting Lyft, you can say for it to pick you up in the Blue Express area that's 102 to 104. And when they find you a driver, it'll come back and say, okay, walk to 104. So all you have to do is just walk to that specific door number, go right out there, and the driver will meet you out there. I ended up catching a ride with the fourth driver who was available to pick me up. The very first driver, like I told y'all before, I'm trying to get better at catching rides with people who've been driving more than a year, because that makes me feel comfortable. So the first driver had only been driving 6 months. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna wait, see if I get something better. Well, the next driver they wanted to give me had only been driving 2 months. And I thought, no, I don't want that. So I canceled that one. The third driver they wanted to give me, they didn't say how long he'd been driving, but he only had 35 ratings to his name. So I canceled that one. And the fourth driver that I got had been driving for about 1.5 years. So that's the one that I took. And since I'm not familiar with the area, I was a bit uncomfortable with the ride just because it was so long. And there was a lot of like driving on bridges and driving through like very green tree filled areas. There wasn't a lot of landmarks, as I call them. There wasn't like a lot of businesses and stuff like that. I just checked Google Maps and it looks like this hotel is 25 minutes from the airport and 15 minutes from the Tampa Convention Center. 12:20 p.m. and Steak and Shake just arrived. I got a cheeseburger, fries, and a birthday cake milkshake. It's about 3 o'clock now, and originally I was gonna hope to be in line by like 2:30 at the latest, because they open the vendor floor for VIPs around this time. And then the celebrity floor opens at 4 o'clock. I'm nervous about the crowds, and I'm also nervous about whether I'm gonna be able to find anybody who's willing to help me locate my Lyft after the show. I had emailed Tampa Convention Center to see if anyone from either the center itself or 90s Con would be able to help me. They do have volunteers, by the way. I wanted to see if anybody could help me, like walk around with me to describe the environment so I don't miss anything, and help make sure that I got into the correct meet and greet lines, and help me find my Lyft after when I'm ready to leave. And someone emailed me back and they said that that's not a service 90s Con management provides. But yet the irony of it is they do have an ADA booth, and they provide an ADA companion pass free of charge if you have a companion with you. But as y'all know, it's not realistic to always be able to go somewhere with somebody. It does bother me that there's still this stereotype that disabled people need to have a caretaker with them at all times. And, especially when that's coming from a venue, like, I'm going to this place to spend my money and my time, and I mean, they're trying to absolve themselves of any responsibility whatsoever by being like, oh, you should have somebody with you. It's 6:53 p.m. I just got back from the con a little while ago. So I got picked up from the hotel, and at first I felt comfortable with the driver, but as it kind of went on, I felt more uncomfortable. He was somebody who'd been driving for several years, so right out of the gate, I thought, oh, that's got to be a good sign, right? Well, he started off talking to me about he was the first Uber driver in Tampa and how he was giving out free codes to people, encouraging people to become drivers. And as he's telling me this, I'm thinking, is this guy trying to recruit me to be a Lyft or Uber driver or something? And then he got on the subject of talking about how his wife had passed away. And I'm thinking, oh geez, this isn't good. Like, for some reason, there are times where I'll be talking to a guy, whether it's a contractor or a driver or whatever, and they'll just want to start talking to me about how they don't have a girlfriend or their wife has passed away or whatever. In this case, the guy was in his 60s, his wife passed away, and then after he's talking about her for a little while, he's asking me, he's like, oh, have you ever been married? At the very beginning of the ride, I had told him I was going to 90s Con. So at this point, when he asked me if I'd been married before, I just kind of quickly answered him, and then I was like, so can you tell me, what kind of cool stuff is here in Tampa that my friends and I should check out, since I'm going to meet my friends at the convention center? And so he's like, oh, well, what do y'all like? And, so I was talking to him about food and seafood and whatever else, so he was telling me about some different restaurants around here and encouraging me to go to E-Bar. So he was telling me it's a good place to go if you want to hook up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like I'm still feeling very uncomfortable with this guy. And so I kept talking to him, like changing the subject, being like, oh, well, what about museums? And what about the aquarium and the zoo? What's that like around here? And so anyway, so by the time he was telling me about all that stuff, we did get downtown. He dropped me off almost a block from the convention center. But it's a huge building with lots and lots of stairs. And so I didn't see anybody just walking around on the ground on the sidewalk. So I thought, okay, let me go up one of these flights of stairs and I'll see if I can find somebody. So I ended up walking up the stairs and I found some ladies who were walking around the building. I followed them inside, and thankfully inside is where, and it is a huge place. It's like as big as a mall. First you gotta go through security and get your bag checked. So I went to the VIP booth. They gave me this nice double-sided bag here. And let's see what's in here. We have two things. This first thing, I'm not so sure I'm gonna use. It's like Mickey ears. And it says, what does this say on it? I can't really see what this side says, but this other side, one ear says 90s Con, the other ear says something else. But anyway, so I have these 90s Con Mickey Mouse ears, but this is what I thought was really cool. This, and let me see what the charge on this is like. If it says this, it says 90s Con Greatest Hits, and it says it's a tape cabled fast charging power bank. Oh, okay. It looks like it's designed to look like a cassette tape. This is super cool. I'm definitely gonna use this. So after I got my VIP bag, I went to the doors where it's like the main convention floor. I was under the impression it was gonna be like 2 stories. There was gonna be one floor that was gonna be like the vendors and the photo ops and stuff like that, and then there was gonna be another one just for the celebrities. But everything ended up being on one floor. Like, you walk in, and to your right is where they have the photo ops and the vendors, and then to the left is where they have the celebrity tables where they're doing signings and stuff. So I walked around, looked a little bit, just kind of glanced at what was at the vendor tables. It was only open for 4 hours. In fact, I would say attendance was pretty chill. There weren't a ton of people. The very first line that I got into was for Bill Daniels and Bonnie Bartlett, and I stood there talking to a few of the girls who were in front of me. And one of them has actually traveled around to a lot of different conventions, to like Harry Potter conventions and Hallmark. I didn't even know there was a Hallmark convention, but I'm not surprised. She's gone to the Gilmore Girls Fan Fest once or twice, so that I was excited to talk to her about that one. I've never been to that one yet. So anyway, the line ended up not getting cut off necessarily, but Bonnie and Bill were going to do photo ops. So that was around 4:30. We found out it was going to be an hour wait until they came back to their table. I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do while they're going off to do photo ops? So I knew that in that same section there were other Boy Meets World people. I didn't talk to Lee Norris or Betsy Randall. I could have. Their lines were pretty short today, but I wanted to go talk to Anthony Tyler Quinn. So I went to go talk to him, and the first person that you talk to is the person's handler or assistant or whatever. And so, I gave her the money, gave her like $30 for a selfie, and then I went to talk to him. I'll be honest, even though the line wasn't very long, I don't even know if there was anybody right behind me in line or not, but at first I kind of got the impression I was being rushed. But, I said hi to him. Like I mentioned to him that I'm a film and TV actor. I've been doing this for like 10 years. And I asked him, like, how do you stay in the moment when you're filming a scene? And I feel like I maybe should have asked him this online as a cameo instead, because he basically like gave me a ton of information, like rapid fire in a very short amount of time. It was great information. I wish I could have absorbed it all. But anyway, he was really sweet, and the lady took a few selfies for me, which was really sweet. And I told him that, I was glad I got to meet him before the mad rush started. And he was happy to meet me too, and he told me to enjoy the con. So after that, I kind of walked around a bit more, and I found some of the photo op areas. I'm still not sure where the slime area is. I want to go do that tomorrow if it's possible to go get slimed. I found a few photo op areas where there were people in line, so I thought, okay, cool, maybe I can offer to take photos for people and, in exchange for them taking a photo for me, and that did work out a few times. So there's one where I think it's maybe like designed to look like a TV, and it says 90s Con in the middle of it. And then there's another photo op area, the one that I was most looking forward to, which is the orange couch, from Nickelodeon, from Snick back in the day. So, I'm sure it's not exactly the same couch, but you know what I mean. By that time, it was, I don't know, maybe getting closer to 5. So I went ahead back to Bill and Bonnie's table and stood in line and waited there. And at some point, that same girl that I had been talking to about all the different conventions, she came back in line, and she ended up being right in front of me in line again. She got up there to go take her photo with, I think she just met Bill. I don't think she met Bonnie. But I wanted to meet both of them. So I walked up to Bill and I said, "Hi, I'm Christina." And, I held my hand out to shake his hand, and he didn't say anything. He just sat there staring at me. And then I think it was Bonnie who kind of realized that I couldn't see very well. So then she's like this, like a fist bump. And I was like, oh, okay. So I fist bumped her, and then I fist bumped Bill. And then I still kept trying to talk to him. He still didn't say anything, kept staring at me. And then the handlers were kind of rushing to be like, oh, go around the table, take a selfie. I'm like, okay. So I walked around the table, and Bonnie came up, and she was like, here, get in the middle. And so I stood in the middle of like the two of them. I was still kind of behind his chair, but I was in the middle of the two of them, and took a few photos. I just kind of got the impression that, I don't know if it was the line or what, but they were just really in a rush. At that point, I was just kind of done for the day. I was like, there's still daylight outside. Let me see if I can find somebody to help me find a lift. That's the thing I'm really the most concerned about whenever I go anywhere, is making sure I get back home if I'm out at a local concert, or making sure I get back to the hotel if I'm out, somewhere out of town. So I went up to the ADA booth, and there were two people standing there, a guy and a lady. And I mentioned to the lady that I had forgotten to go up to the ADA booth when I first arrived. And so she was getting ready to give me a badge to put it around my wrist. And I said, I'm actually getting ready to leave right now. I'm gonna be back tomorrow, but would somebody be able to help me find my lift? And thankfully the guy was like, oh, I'll help. And so his name was Steve. He was he was a really nice guy. I think he said he's helped out the con with like their tech stuff. And so this is his first time helping out in Tampa and everything for the con. And so he was able to leave that ADA station and walk with me outside. And I requested a lift. Apparently there were like some roads and stuff that were blocked off, so they couldn't pull up right by like the front entrance of the convention center. And so we were walking like across the street and then back again to where we were, and kind of like near I think the Marriott next door to the convention center. And so thank gosh, he helped me find my lift. And I told him, I said, I'll be back tomorrow, and he's like, okay, see you tomorrow. So that was 90s Con day 1. It's Saturday, September 16th, 2023. I made 2 trips down to get breakfast. The first trip, I got some sausage, a biscuit, and an egg, and some Honey Nut Cheerios. And then the second trip, I grabbed some coffee and some oatmeal, and also hopefully some butter to put in the oatmeal. It was yellow and it's like a square shape and it's cold, so I figure it must be butter. One thing I learned yesterday is that there are a lot of people who are willing to pay big money for these professional photo ops. I personally wouldn't want to use my money that way, but like if you wanted to get a group photo with the entire cast of Full House, that would be $375. If you wanted a group photo with all 10 cast members from Boy Meets World who are here, that would be $440. If you wanted a group photo with the Disney princesses, that would cost $275. And then a lot of people have their professional photo ops individually going for between $60 to $85. So that's why I choose to do the selfies. The selfies at the celebrity tables tend to be $30, but some of them are gonna be $50 per person. 6:22 p.m. and at the moment I'm too tired to talk about how the day went. It was a lot of fun. It was a blast. I did remember to get my ADA wristband today. Right now I'm waiting for Cracker Barrel to get here. I've got breakfast for dinner tonight. I ordered Grandma's French toast sampler, I think it's called. So I got some blueberry syrup here. I wish I could bring all of this home with me, but unfortunately it's a glass container and it wouldn't survive the flight. So I'm gonna use some of this syrup on my French toast. And I also have here, I think it's bacon, ham, and scrambled eggs. And I have some grits. And I'm gonna save this for tomorrow, but I also got an iced French toast latte. We don't have Cracker Barrel where I'm from, so when I can get it, I get it. Sunday, September 17th, 2023. You can hear it in my voice that I should have brought my Flonase nasal spray with me on this trip, and I didn't do that. So, been feeling a bit under the weather the last couple days. This morning for breakfast, it looks like we have those little potatoes again, some sort of egg thing, and maybe some little pieces of sausage. And I got a water to try to put the hydration back into my system. And depending on how I feel after that, I might have my French toast latte from last night. Yesterday I got to the venue around 11 a.m. I did remember to go to the ADA booth first and get my wristband. And then I went inside. I remembered the general area where the Full House cast was gonna be. But obviously I can't see well enough to see their their picture and their name on their booth. So I walked toward that area, and then I just so happened to see at the end of one of the lines, there was a girl on a motorized scooter. So I went up to her and I said, "Hey, I can't see very well. Can you tell me whose line this is?" And she said, "Jody Sweeten." So I said, "Okay, thank you." And it turned out she was in the general line. I didn't know at the time that there's a difference in color between the general line, which is yellow, and the VIP line, which is green. So the volunteer that was standing there directed me to stay in the general line, and I stayed there for what seemed like at least 5-10 minutes. And then suddenly I noticed that there was this line right next to it, the shorter line, the green line, that, you know, there was somebody in a wheelchair and there were a few other people. And so I decided to get out of the general line, and I went over to the green line and I said, "Is this VIP for Jody?" And they said, "Yeah." So I stayed in that line. Yeah, it was the second day in a row where one of the volunteers had accidentally put me in the general line, even though I'm standing there with my VIP badge out and everything. So I got to meet Jody, and she was really nice. You know, basically I've just been telling people, you know, that I'm Christina, I'm from New Orleans, and I'm a film and TV actor. So I told her congratulations on her podcast that she has with Andrea Barber. And she said thank you, and we took a few photos, and the line next to hers was for Dave Coulier. So I got in the green line, in the VIP line for that one, and and he was really nice. He took a few minutes to talk to me. Told him I hadn't had a chance to listen to his podcast yet, but you know, I'm looking forward to it. And he was like, "Yeah, we're on break till the strike is over." And I said, "Yeah, I totally get it." You know, we just had a rally, a SAG-AFTRA rally in Louisiana a few weeks ago. So we took a few photos, and then after the photos, he's like, "A fellow actor, broke a leg." So that was really nice of him, the encouragement. And the next line that I went into was for Andrea Barber. And there were a few people in line in front of me who have some mutual friends in common with her, so she actually took some time to talk to them. But when I went up there to introduce myself, you know, she was like, "Oh, you want to take a selfie?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." But she was nice, and she complimented my Love Paint and Stitches purse. So I told her that the brand that it was. And by that time, all of the Full House cast was headed over to do their professional photo ops. So I walked around for a bit. I did see where the slime station was. I looked at some of the vendor tables. There were a lot of vendors that had stuff like artwork to do with like Disney princesses and stuff like that. And I found the 90s Con merch booth. So I ended up getting a 90s Con pen. Someone told me that this changes colors if you press it down. I don't know how that works exactly. And then I also got a 90s Con bucket hat. Where is the front of this? Here we go. 90s Con bucket hat, and it's reversible. So I feel like I'm getting a lot for the money that way. So I asked a few of the volunteers where the tables were for Elizabeth Berkley and Melissa Joan Hart. And they kind of gave me conflicting information. So I walked up to this one lady who was carrying some 90s Con bags. And yes, she did have the 90s Con, you know, the blue shirt. So I figured she was a staff member or volunteer. And so I walked up to her and I asked her if she could tell me where those two tables were. And she was like, "Oh, I don't know." And I'm like, okay, because everybody else around here has been helping me, and, you know, I mean, I can't see very well. So I was hoping you could help me by telling me where these two people's tables are. And she's like, "Oh, well, I don't really know what to tell you. I'm just selling bags." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I walked off. I eventually found a guy who walked me over to Elizabeth Berkley's table, and it just so happened that she was about to leave to go do photo ops. And so the lady who was taking the money was like, oh, what do you want? And I said, oh, a selfie. And she was like, okay, you're gonna be the last one. And I said, okay. And so Elizabeth came from around the table and took a picture with me. And, she seemed like she was about to leave. But I said, hey, I'm Christina. I'm from New Orleans. I'm taking classes with the same acting coach that you're taking classes with. At least from his studio. I've only taken one class with him so far, but I still really like the studio. And so that piqued her interest. She talked to me for a few minutes and asked me which classes I've taken, and she told me that she's been with him for 25 years and he's the best, and encouraged me to keep it up. And she wrote down my name in her phone. She said she's going to let him know that she met me. And then I walked around a bit more. I did go back to some of those same photo op areas and tried to get some more cute photos with the couch. Unfortunately, my bag decided to fall down, so I don't have the bag facing the camera. And so at 2 o'clock, everybody was lining up to meet Melissa Joan Hart. And it took about almost 40 minutes in line, I guess. And then when she finally showed up, she was just taking photos with people, and then they were walking off. It's like she wasn't getting to know people's names or anything. And me personally, I'm the type of person where, I at least want to shake the person's hand and say, hi, I'm Christina. I'm visiting, from Louisiana. So I took a quick picture with her, and then, I introduced myself. And I don't know, she might have been able to realize that I can't see very well, because she told me as I was leaving, to be careful not to trip over the cord, because they had a ring light set up to take her pictures. So after I met her, I went downstairs for the Full House panel, and since I didn't arrive early, I didn't get a good spot. They didn't even have any spots available in the VIP seating area. So I had to sit way on the far right side of the room, so I really couldn't see the stage that well. And but afterward, for the Boy Meets World panel, it was going to be the last panel of the day, which, I'll be honest, it was like the very first thing that was announced for 90s Con. And so it's basically the reason I was coming to this whole thing, is for the 30th anniversary of Boy Meets World. And they let all the VIPs stay in the room. So I was able to head off to the VIP seating area and find a seat in the front row. And so it was really nice, really awesome panel. I'm sure, these people probably can't believe that 30 years has passed by since their show was on. But it was really cool to be able to be there and share in that moment with everybody. And so then it was about 5 o'clock. Originally my plan was to get slimed before leaving the convention, but I decided to not do that, because by the time I left, I'd been there 6 hours and I was tired and hungry. So I went to the ADA booth, hoping that they would have the same people as yesterday and stuff. So I went to the ADA booth and I asked the woman who was there. So I went to the ADA booth and I made sure to have my ADA wristband showing at the time. And, the lady was like, hey, how can I help you? And I said, oh, well, I already have my badge. I'm getting ready to leave for the day, and I was hoping someone could help me find my lift. And she was like, find your lift. I'm like, yeah, I came up here yesterday, and, there was a guy and a lady, and the guy went downstairs with me and helped me find my lift. And she's like, oh, well, those same people aren't here today. Why don't you try asking her? And then she pointed me over to the VIP booth. So I went over to the VIP booth, and the lady seemed just as disinterested in helping me. And I told her, I said, look, it was really complex yesterday. The guy had to go chase the car down practically for me. And, I can only see well enough to recognize the shape and the color of the car. I can't tell the make and model or what the driver looks like or anything like that. But she still didn't really seem like she wanted to help me. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to request my ride. And then when it gets closer, I'm going to come back up here. Just kind of basically giving off the impression that, look, I'm not I'm asking for like a really simple request. I'm not just gonna leave and go off in this unfamiliar city and get lost or abducted or something, you know? So I requested a lift. The guy was about 12 minutes away, so I just kind of stood there in the lobby hoping that maybe me not leaving would kind of propel these people to be like, okay, we'll help you, you know? So when the car got to be about 3 minutes away, I kind of reluctantly headed back up to the ADA booth. And as I'm heading up there, I hear, Christina. And so I'm walking toward the voice, it's a guy's voice, and he's like, hey, it's Steve from yesterday. I'm like, oh, hey. Like, I was so relieved to see him. And, you know, of course, that lady was sitting there next to him, just completely not interested at all. But, you know, I asked Steve, I said, hey, would you mind helping me find my lift again? And he said, no, that's not a problem at all. And so even though the lady wasn't helpful, I looked at her and I said, thank you for your help. You know, I made sure to tell Steve, you know, that yesterday was my last day. I didn't want him to think that there was going to be a third day in a row where they were going to have to help me find my lift, you know. So Steve helped me find the right car, and that's basically the end of my 90s con experience. I got back to my hotel and had Cracker Barrel, and this morning I'm gonna be headed to the airport to go back home. Made it home from my trip. When I got to the Tampa airport, it wasn't as easy to navigate getting to the security checkpoint and the gates as it had been to leave. I followed the sign to head upstairs to where it said the gates were. But then when I got up there, I was walking around and I noticed all the restaurants and the entrance to the hotel and everything. And so I walked up to a customer service desk, and the lady kind of tried to give me directions to where the shuttle was, but I couldn't find it. So I went back, I circled back around to that same desk and asked her again. And then she had somebody walk with me over there. And from then on, you know, I got on the shuttle and went through security and found my gate on my own. Although at the Tampa airport, they didn't have the names of the gates like out near the hallway up above. You had to actually walk up to the desk. And so I was like standing at the desk trying to squint and look up and see if I could make out the names of the numbers of the gate. But I did find it. So made it home about half an hour before my improv class started. So I just finished my 3 hours of improv class, and I've been drinking water and drinking some kefir. Hopefully I'm not gonna have a sinus infection. We'll see. So yeah, this is where the vlog is gonna end. I hope y'all enjoyed watching it. Please give it a thumbs up if you thought it was a cool video, and leave a comment. Let me know who your favorite celebrity is that I met. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.